That's right. And so if we think about it a little bit, so in my work as a mediator, working in relationship or on business transactions or in lawsuits where people are upset, the conflict is happening, but it's happening more informally, and it's also happening in lots of times communication, where for you, you're actually engaging on the physical level. And we know from integral theory that the gross, the subtle, and the causal are always part of what's going on, but
Right.
there's much more of an engagement in the gross domain,
Right.
where for me, I'm working much more in the communicative or subtle domain with people.
Right.
And in both of our work, I think cultivating presence is fundamental, like bringing attention to here and now,
Yeah.
being aware of the body, being aware of what's going on in the body. And when you work with conflict, you have to understand what threat feels like in the body.
Right. Exactly.
Does that come up in Aikido? Do people feel threatened? Do they have that?
Yeah, I mean
Fight or flight?
the very first lesson that anybody learns in Aikido is how to fall physically, and we are
Okay.
biologically wired not to fall down. So as soon as we say, okay, you're going to take a tumble head over heels, you're going to actually fall forward, and there's a skill that you learn to where it's actually you go with it, and it doesn't. At the beginning, it's a little bit painful, but once you learn the technique, it's not painful at all. But that right away activates the amygdala. It's like, the fear instinct comes up right away.
Yeah.
The survival instincts come up right away. And if it's a dojo that's kind of more working with internal practices, it's like, okay, this is the beginning and the end of all the practice right here. Once so basically the fear instincts come up and they overtake our capacity to be aware in that moment.
Right. That's right.
So right away we're working on kind of expanding our capacity of awareness as a container to let this wave of instinct or fear come up, do its thing, and then pass away. But and then we try to do that in complex technical moves and relationships with a partner. But that's there. It's there all the time, actually. Even after years and years of training, it's just the instinct is so.
Because it's been so evolutionarily refined, and it's so deep. It's the oldest part of our nervous system.
Right, yeah.
When the amygdala is stimulated and it starts signaling the brain, we get this adrenaline drip or these other cortisol into the body. The heart rate increases. We clench our neck and our shoulders.
Everything.
Not to be bitten.
The center comes up.
The center comes up. We close
completely.
in to protect our vital organs. Right. Our fists might start to go like that automatically, or we start to run.
Right. Exactly.
And that all happens in a nanosecond, and it's so deep. So learning how to be present to all of that and experiencing it, because it's not pleasurable.
No, it's very unpleasant, yeah.
The whole grip, people in psychology today call this being triggered, right?
Right.
And we're triggered. It's unpleasant. Because everything in our brain and our nervous system and our body is like fueling, is basically stimulating us to either get out or fight, just to self-protect. And you have to make this counter or check out.
Beam me up, Scotty.
Yeah, I'm out.
Exactly. Have another drink.
Yeah, have a drink.
It's water, by the way.
Yeah. So it's this massively counterintuitive move where you have to develop your witnessing awareness. And in a certain way, I don't know if the brain scientists would say this, but you're literally creating neural pathways that link the old part of the brain to the new part of the brain.
For sure. There's no question.
Be able to keep that online at the same time that you're in the grip of these prehistoric motivations. It's intense.
Yeah. And I would say not only neural pathways, but it's also impacting the whole nervous system, because when you get into the physical stuff, it's just every trigger comes through the body, and it's not just what we perceive and the threat that we perceive, whether it's real or false, but it's actually physically, viscerally in the system.